Welcome to Al and Ha, two friends talking crypto and sports. Let's get it. This is Ha from the Al and Ha podcast. We are not financial advisors. Our views are our views. Please do your own research. Let's get it.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Al and Ha. This episode, we're going to dive into a little bit of the cryptocurrency world. We're going to start off talking about the XRP buy and hold, I guess, group. It wasn't really a Reddit group, but it was a group that was started on, I don't even know, was it on Reddit or
I don't know. It was on Twitter. I know we saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, it might have been on Facebook or something, but it got up to like 200,000 people in the group, and it was, they were going to try to kind of do the same thing that they did with GameStop. And essentially, it was supposed to be, it was 7:30 my time, so Central Time, so it would have been 5:30 your time.
5:30 Western.
And so they were trying to do it all at the same time to get the price to spike, and essentially, jump
and it 2.5, 3x before and the lead up too.
And so that's what we had talked about. Like I was like, you know what, I'm going to put some money in, see if I can make a little bit of money on it and pull it out. Obviously, we have our big bags. We add to it. We were just talking about, we add to our XRP bags constantly, and even, anything else we hold, we add to constantly, just little by little.
Right.
But for me, it was like, I'm going to see, depending on what this does, see if I can make a quick buck on it. And obviously expecting, not really knowing what to expect on it. Mm-hmm. So I bought in on Saturday. Like I said, I bought in at 28 cents, and it got up to, I think it was just under 80 Monday morning.
Yeah. And I got in at 25 to 25.3 to 24.7.
Yeah,
was my last buy-in before it ran up.
Over the whole weekend, It was going up, and I woke up Monday morning, and it dropped from like just under 80 to in the 60s, and then 7:30 hit, and Uphold and BitTrue froze up, and there went the price. And it was, you should, like, Twitter was crazy. Like, even we have like a little group chat, like we were going back and forth, like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Which we had talked about a little bit before that. We're like, watch the price, like it's going to go up and it's going to freaking flash crash all the way down. And so it wasn't really a shock to us, but
actually my prediction was everything was going to freeze up. I was like, don't be surprised if everything freezes up. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And the thing is I don't know if it was because it wasn't the ledger.
No.
So it's these exchanges, and did these exchanges pull a Robinhood? And because
maybe, but
they don't. I've never seen. So you're telling me these exchanges go down, and like even Fiat Leak. If you look at it, we never really talk about Fiat Leak on here, but Fiat Leak. If you go to Fiat FIAT Leak LEAK .com,
awesome site.
You can see the purchases of XRP. You can see them flowing from a little country flag into wherever country they're going to. But at 5:30 in the morning on that day, it was
nothing for XRP.
Nothing. and it literally 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, it was trading at like 6 million XRP a minute.
Yeah. Like
it's manipulation at the highest form.
Well, here's the thing. We touched on it a little bit with obviously our group chat, but it's happened before. Obviously, if anybody's in this space or anybody knows, like Coinbase is locked up a lot when prices are going. Like their site just crashes and you can't get anything off of it. And for me, I do think that because of the XRP being delisted from everything but essentially Uphold and BitTrue, like you can't, the only way for essentially people that aren't already in the space, the only way for them to get into it in the United States is to go through Uphold, because you can't go from your debit card to BitTrue. Like you have to have it. You have to have your crypto or whatever already on BitTrue to go sell it. So the crazy part is
95% of that action is outside. And I know Coinbase cut it off globally. Right. So they're buying and selling globally. But everybody else is.
No,
but yet it was all dead at 5:30.
Yeah.
Globally.
I don't know, man. I do think, Uphold, I think it was Sunday. and like I said, it went from 28 cents up
I
to
give
just under
Uphold
80.
I give Uphold a pass because Uphold I know they had a bunch because that's the
Yeah.
easy. I mean, people are saying
Easiest
BitTrue,
route.
but like you just said, you can't get into BitTrue.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it just takes days to get your
Essentially in the United
USDC
States,
over there.
yeah, in the United States, the only way to get XRP is to go through Uphold, like straight from your debit card. Currently,
If you want it now, yeah.
Yeah. So with Uphold, and they were down on Sunday because of the mass volume they were getting. They were trying to update their servers and everything, so they were down for about an hour on Sunday. And I was like, we were both like, oh, maybe they're preparing for Monday. But I agree. I do think there's some type of manipulation with it. Obviously, like they don't want the price to get jacked up quite yet. They
weren't ready yet.
And they weren't ready. I finally, like I touched on, obviously we have our bags, and I was just trying to make some money. I finally got on to Uphold once I don't even think it was fully done, but was able to get on and get out. I think I sold it like 43 cents. So I was able to I made just over $1,000 on what I had in there, but it was one of those, like, for anybody that, again, money that we know that we could put into it, and it's like, even if I wasn't able to get out of it, it would have just kept it anyway. So it wasn't something that I was like really sweating, but like I said, I was just trying to make some money on it. And so I would have just left it on there, but I was able to move it out and make a little bit of money on it. And essentially kind of holding that now to see if XRP drops again, to put it back in and see if I can get some more into my bag there. But
so basically what he just did, he just shorted it, guys. Not at the level where it's the contracts and all that kind of stuff, but he took it out, let it go down, and when he puts it back in, he's going to gain more XRP. I don't have the testes for that, so I just buy and hold.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, like when that shit went down, like we were, again, that group chat, we're like, fuck. And one of our buddies on there, I'm not gonna put his name on there. We haven't, talked to him. I don't know if he's cool with us putting him on here, but I felt like he was in a panic. And I was like, yep, can't get in. And I'm like, whatever. I guess I just, got fat in my bag on XRP. Like, I'm not going to take anything out of it right now. And even with what it's at now, it's right at 38 cents. Like I said, bought in at 28. So I would still made money on it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, I ended up pulling it out. And like we said, we normally don't do that. I normally don't do that. But it was just kind of like, that whole, well, let's see what happens.
Knew it was going to be a pump. Yeah. And you knew it was going to be a dump because the utility's not in. Like I said this on my Facebook page. The 2 to 3x pumps, they're nice, they're great, yeah, all that, but that's not necessarily why we're here. We're here for the utility comes in and the whole world changes.
Right.
And Ripple putting a dent in the universe type stuff. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So like I said in that Facebook post, man, it's just seeing it go, even if it gets to $3, $4, $5, yeah, great, hey. But we're here for more than that. We're here for much more than that.
But yeah, but it was just kind of, I'm sure there was a lot of people that lost a lot of shit ton of money.
They did.
Who typically aren't in it, and maybe they heard about it, tried to make some money. That's why we say, like, do not put money in it that you can't afford to lose. Like other than the exchanges going down, that is the prototypical, like, you see the gains like that and then flash crashes. And I talked about, I think, on the first crypto podcast we did, the first time I saw the flash crash, I fucking panicked. Like, I just got into it and price was going up and it freaking dropped 10 cents in a matter of 30 seconds. And it like gives you a short little small heart attack and you're just like, what the hell? But when you're in it and you do the research, it doesn't bother you as much.
You don't care.
But it's just
like right now, for those people that got in, for those people that bought, at whatever, 60 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, 70 cents, it's at 38 cents right now. So this is what they call dollar cost averaging.
Right.
So you buy now, and then, because listen, the price is irrelevant. You got to understand, and that's what goes back to doing your research. You got to understand what you hold. So when the price goes down, you just buy more. So when the price goes back to that whatever price you originally bought in at, you see the difference because you bought a bunch more. You can, heck, if you got in at 60 cents right now, say you put $500 at 60 cents, you can match that bag that you got for $250 right now.
Yep.
The product is good. Nothing has changed with the product. It's just these clowns manipulating. It's the SEC filing lawsuits. It's these clowns, doing the pump and dumps. It's the exchange going down. That's the manipulation. You sell all that shit, but you do your research and you buy the information. You buy the central banks. You buy the financial institutions, and you buy these places that are pumping trillions of dollars a day, and that are Ripple partners. You buy the Saudi Arabia article, that just came out that they're using Ripple. They actually said that they're using Ripple in RippleNet. Like, you buy that stuff, you sell everything else.
Yeah.
And stack your bag.
That's what we had talked about. Like I said, I was planning on obviously making a little bit of money or whatever, and essentially, like,
still are trying to make a little bit of money.
And essentially trying to, see if it does drop lower. Talking about, you've seen people, on Twitter and stuff that study the fractals, they're expecting it to go back down to 20 cents. And so it's one of those, like, okay, I made a little bit of money on it. I'll be a buyer with that money. So I just, went from, sold at 43 cents. And if I go buy all that at 20, I doubled my bag at 20 cents. So of what I bought there. So, and you saw a lot on Twitter with all the pump and dump stuff for that group. There was a lot of guys that we watch in the space. Kevin Cage, James Rule XRP is another one which we haven't really mentioned. He puts out a lot of good content, but they were all like, kind of like we said, like, here's our popcorn. Like, they weren't adding bags. Their bags are packed. Like, they're stacking their bags, like, kind of like we do, little by little, just kind of adding to it. And, they were some of those people, like we said, we weren't really into it. But then the other one was Silver, was the other one that they tried to, I think that was, but I did see something like that. Wasn't really a Reddit group. That was something else too.
Yeah.
I think that was just more of a short squeeze. They were trying to short squeeze Silver, and it ended up pumping.
And it's ongoing. The thing is just the Silver thing is in the traditional market, and the traditional market doesn't necessarily move the way it definitely doesn't move how crypto does, even though GameStop did last week. But it's going to take a minute. And I'm listening. I listen to, y'all know my mind is out there. So I listened to a bunch of guys, and they were basically talking about how the price would go down because that's the big wigs playing their games, trying to slam the price down, get people to sell out. You guys, like, Silver is something you guys have to understand. And we mentioned this in a previous podcast, but everything is made damn near out of silver. Like solar panels, everybody's talking about we're going green, we're doing all this kind of stuff. Well, a lot of that stuff is made out of solar panels.
It has parts.
I mean, silver. It's like your cell phone. A lot of silver in cell phones. And the thing is they're talking about silver being 1-to-1 as far as like how much silver there is on the planet with gold. Silver actually has utility. Like, there's not a lot of stuff being made with gold that you don't wear.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Silver has utility to it. So at some point, the ratio between gold and silver, which is, I believe, 1-to-80 or 90, it may even be 100, I don't know. But the ratio should be 1-to-15. And at some point, that's going to correct.
Right. And that's been talked about. I've actually seen a lot of guys talk about that. And you talk about the pump. It went up like 10%. I think it got to like $34 an ounce. And then but you have to. Yeah, no shit. But you go back to the big financial institutions, JP Morgan, all them, that obviously that's what people got to realize is, GameStop moved like that because how many people are really in GameStop? Like, it really, it's obviously it's a stock, it's on the stock exchange and all that stuff, but like, there's not a shit ton of money in GameStop. I mean, we had a friend bought it at $4. I saw on TV today, some guy bought in on it and it sold out near the top of it, before, and made some money on it. But he even said, he's like, I'm not one of the big wigs. Like, yeah, I made some money. I'm still not one of the big wigs though. Like, even after making some money on it. But there's not a lot of, not a ton of money in it. We've touched on gold. I don't even know what the silver market cap is. I have to check it real quick, but gold's market cap's $8 trillion. So for it to move 10 trillion or 10%, for silver to move 10%, it's a huge jump.
Yeah.
And then you see the correction. So it's like what you talked about, like selling it out to get the price to drop for it to get everybody out of it, so that these big guys can, sell it out
Buy
at
it up
30,
on the cheap.
sell it out at 33, 34 bucks an ounce, and then buy it back up at 26, because I think it dropped just under 27 bucks. It's back up about 28 now, but that's where they had more of the control because they have more of the silver. And so when you sit and look at it, it's just, we've touched on it before with the high market caps, it takes a lot more money to move the stocks. And so when you see something like GameStop move the way it does, or AMC move the way it did, like the market caps weren't there. They weren't very high. So that, when you start getting retail investors getting into it and buying it up, that percentage jumps. Whereas silver and gold and stuff isn't really going to.
I read a little, I read something that what, like these hedge funds that were backing Robinhood were getting, they get the fee. So when the retail people, where the retail people buy and where the institutional people buy are two different places.
Right.
Okay. So the retail people are buying or selling or whatever the case may be. They get a fee. So with the computers and the stuff that we got going on right now, the financial tools, they can tell what the sentiment of what the public is, what the sentiment of the people are. So if the people are loading up on buying a certain so they can catch that feed and they can just ride the wave with us.
Right.
And then since they'll know when we start selling, because they'll be using the same type of feed or whatever the case may be, because they're tapped into the back end or whatever the case may be, when they see this start selling or begin to see it, or they're probably at the point where they don't even care about selling the top, because once they start selling, it's going to go down. You know what I'm saying? They made their money and then they can set their shorts up again at that point. So I feel what you're saying, because we don't have the money to move it the way that shit moves. And I understand the market is slow. Yeah. But even when it's kind of that low, I don't think we have the money to move it the way that it moved. Like, there was help there.
No, talking about silver.
No, I'm talking about like that. Yeah, with GameStop.
Oh yeah,
there was help there. They have the whole thing is like, if anybody was paying attention over the last week, including this crypto pump and hold thing, it was obvious to see that our financial system is rigged. It's blatantly obvious to see, and something's got to happen. And what's going to happen is going to be a decentralized exchange where this kind of stuff can't happen, where they can't decide to shut certain people off because everybody's going to be using the same exchange. So
right. And like you said, I totally agree. GameStop freaking crashed big time today. It's back under 200 bucks now, but it was down. I didn't even check it later this afternoon, but early this morning, it was down like 180 bucks. And it goes back to like, if those guys in Wall Street,
you don't know the power of the dark side.
Like they are freaking the dark side
cartel, man.
They are the Sith Lords. They are them that if they want to push something, they can push it. And we talked about that. Like, how many of them probably got into GameStop, saw that happening, pushed it up to make some money, and an hour selling it back down to get their shorts. So they could sit there and, Melvin Capital said they lost 50% of their money or whatever. And I, maybe initially, but I call bullshit. I guarantee you they're going to get that back. And
already got it back.
And you hit it on the head. Robinhood, I mean, if you look at the info, like, they sell the retail investor info to the big firms.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they're seeing the percentages of us retail investors, like what we're putting our money into, what we're looking at, and then
they bet against it.
They could bet against it, because then they could move it because they have more money. And so that's
smart money. It's their smart money versus our dumb money, and we're the dummies. So they just take our money.
Right. And
Robinhood, how ironic is that?
Yeah, no shit, right? Them, E-Trade, it's the same sort of thing. But so that's why we always say, even with stuff like that, if you're going to get into the fractionalized stocks and or even just buying stocks on whatever, like, do your research on stuff. Don't just throw money at stuff because you think you've heard of it, or oh, it's looks like it's doing good. Like, do research on it. Like, I remember even when I was messing around with it, like, I was actually like, this was like at the beginning of the pandemic, like when I first started getting into crypto, I did do into crypto, and I got into Robinhood and bought some stuff, but I was actually like, wasn't just going to throw my money at some random ass shit. Like, I went and was playing around, and I was researching certain, companies and all that kind of stuff of what I was actually buying into, instead of just throwing my money at stuff like, oh, this is going up today. Like, which I feel like that's what a lot of retail investors do when they don't know what they're doing.
Well, think of it like this. Before Dogecoin really corrected, I think Mia Khalifa threw out a tweet or something like that talking about she was going to get into Dogecoin.
The dog coin.
Yeah. Those type of signs, those are signs, people listening to this. Those are signs. When you have people like Mia Khalifa and you got people like random celebrities talking about, I'm going to get into such and such, that's when it's about to go. Meaning go down.
Right.
Okay. Because if it doesn't have utility, like Dogecoin is nothing but the trendy Bitcoin. Like, all the financials and all that kind of stuff are getting into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin really doesn't do anything but hold value. Okay. So whoever, if you buy some now, you're hoping someone else buys some later at a higher price. Same thing with Dogecoin. It's just, it's a younger, it's Dogecoin. You got some celebrities getting behind it. You got Elon Musk that tweets about it, or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't do anything. So it's a store of value. So if you get behind something like that, or if you're listening to one of these celebrities that has 1 million to 50 million followers, and they're like, let's get into Dogecoin, or whatever the case may be, and you fall into some shit like that, just understand that if they're inviting their 25 to 50 to 1 million people to start getting into something like that, it may raise for a hot second, but it's about to crash, because everybody else that knows the game is about to sell out, because it's the end.
And you saw it with Dogecoin. Like, it was like we touched on it on one of the last podcasts about it, just dropping down, and it's back. I mean, it's just over 3 cents.
What was it at?
When it started before, so it was like just under a penny, went up to like just under 9 cents, and now it's back down to 3 cents. And so that's what we're talking about. We talked about it on the other podcast, is people like that, or you see people like, we got texts about it, and they buy in at 6 cents or 7 cents, because it's like, holy shit. And then when you go check it on a site, it shows that it's up 400, 500, 600%, and it's green, and it's, everybody's talking about it, so people buy in at it. But that's the thing with the crypto space. That's what we said before. Be careful with that type of stuff, because it can change in a heartbeat. Because, again, the market cap is not high. There's not a lot of money in crypto. And so
literally at $1 trillion.
Right. For the
and
whole
that's not
crypto
a lot
cap.
For all these. That's not a lot for all these coins.
And what Bitcoin is like 70% of the market as far as the market cap, or something like that. So when you sit there and there's
as you stated, gold is $8 trillion.
Right.
Just gold.
And so when you see something like Dogecoin go up 1,000%, there's money going into it, but it's not a lot of money that's moving it. So what do you think happens when somebody is in there and say they threw 100K at it, and then they turn around and are like, sell? Like, that's going to drop it dramatically.
Yeah, threw 100K at it, and maybe at sub penny where it was. Had it in there since then. So then it damn near 9x, or now they're sitting on damn near $1 million.
Right.
So they will market sell that and say, what the hell? Why not? And just take the price all the way down. And once people in this game see that first, candle drop, it's like, okay, game over. And then everybody market sells. Just get out.
Yep.
And then while people, the naive money, I'm not gonna call it dumb money, because I was right there with you.
Yep.
The naive money is still thinking like, okay, it's just gonna go down, but that's cool. That's cool. I'm getting it at a better price. No, it's about to crash.
Right. And that's the thing.
And then you're upside down.
We talk about the market orders and limit order sells, and essentially when you start seeing people like where they set their price to sell it, so if it gets to a certain price, they'll sell this amount of it or whatever. Typically, they're doing that when it's so like Dogecoin, perfect example. It starts at a penny. Somebody would probably, they'd set their limit orders at 4 cents. They'd sell some of it, 5 cents, sell some of it, 7 cents, sell some of it. Whereas once it's just kind of they're just making their gains as it's going up. But then once, like you said, with the market order, it's like we're selling all of it and I'm getting the fuck out of it because I'm seeing it's going to drop. And then that's when the price drops. And then, like you said, once the people that are in this space that start seeing, especially a coin like that they know it's going to dive and as fast as it did, they just go, okay, we're out. And we're going to take our profits and boom, boom, boom. And that's honestly, like, that's what happened with XRP too. Like if people, it got up to a certain point, they just said, we're selling, we're out. And so that's the crazy thing about the crypto space is just the volatility of it. We've talked about it.
But we're going piggybacking on what you just said. The difference between XRP and Dogecoin is don't feel bad about being stuck with XRP. Yeah, right. You're underwater right now, but you're going to get that back at some point. Dogecoin, right. I mean, I'm sure at some point it got lit up by the flare, flare coin. So it's going to get some utility to it being on that flare network. But that is the game of, well, I hope somebody buys it higher than me. And then, and then with the Dogecoin, you're always going to be playing that, that seesaw game. And I can see that coin not necessarily being very stable because it's always going to be that game of, okay, people are buying and people are selling, all that kind of stuff. And when you go back to these X coins, like we like to dabble in, XRP, XDC, XLM, when you get back to these X coin, it's not going to be our money. It's like when it goes, our money is irrelevant.
Right.
We are along for the ride.
Totally along for the ride on those. But yeah, so it was kind of a crazy Monday, obviously, with silver and the XRP action going. And currently, let's be in Tuesday here, February 2nd. Ethereum's up over $1,500. It's having a good
all-time high.
All-time high over 1,500.
Bitcoin's been over an all-time high.
Yeah, Bitcoin's kind of working its way back up. It's right around 36.6 right now, up 8% today.
Most everything has 3x.
Right.
Has 3 and 4x. That's what people need to wrap their head around. And this is the second time in I don't know how long, maybe a week or two, that XRP has been at this 75-cent range.
Right.
You guys got to wrap your head around it. It's the second time. So obviously there's some nice resistance up there around 80 cents or whatever the case may be. But something tells me that we're going to be back up there again. And third time might be a charm. Because once we get above, I don't know, $1 or so, there's really no more resistance. There's no resistance. It's just going to go until it doesn't. So.
Right. And so that's the thing. And a lot of the market's green today. It's not huge. Even XRP, it obviously recorrected back down to about 30, got down to, I think, like 36 cents, but it's creeping its way. It's right over.
But you got to think
38.5 cents right now.
From the original SEC crash was 17. Then it went up to 37 and 38. Then it went back down to 24.3, I think was the lowest. Then it went back up to 70, and now we went back down, and now we're seeing a floor around 36, 37. I think it might go down to 35, but we're seeing another floor right here.
Right.
And so we're going to push again into the 40s, and hopefully we can set another floor. But if you got in low, you're not upside down.
If you got in around 20 cents or like that 17-cent mark, if you haven't doubled your bag, you damn near doubled it. That's what I was saying. Even with that, with me buying in on, I think it was Saturday, at 28 cents, I've made 10 cents for each token on there.
Yeah.
So you're
20%, 25%, somewhere up in there. But
so
it's good games, and that's all about. It's buying low on these dips and it could dip lower. You know, we got some, you know, some credible fractal and Fibonacci
Yeah.
Fibonacci retracement people that really gets into this TA, and TA is not tits and ass. Technical analysis on these coins, and they, you know, they
Yeah.
give the
They're
good
seeing
news
it.
and they give the bad news,
Yeah.
and they're seeing, you know, a potential another drop, and I'm right there with you. You know,
Yeah.
if it gets back down in there, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep. And so that's the thing. And it's kind of crazy. You're seeing XRP. So once it hit that drop, it's really leveled out. Like it stayed right around that 36 to 38 cent range.
You're kind
Like,
of and accumulating.
yeah,
again.
it's definitely accumulating. Like if you look out at the 2 hour and the 4 and the 1 hour, like it's pretty flat after that drop. So it's kind of crazy to look at, but we'll get into some of that a little bit. But so some news that we've seen over the last couple of days, obviously with that group, there's a lot of movement as far as just buying and selling. But we touched on, you know, obviously the Volante.
$6 trillion a day.
Yeah, and
you can snap your fingers.
they announced their participation.
$5 billion.
Yeah, and they announced their participation in the pilot program for the Federal Reserve's FedNow system, which is, again, they're stating in there that they're using Ripple's technology.
$6 trillion a day.
And so
$5 billion as fast as you can snap your fingers.
Right, and like we've touched on, like the utility of it. So it's going to be used. So you have to think of that, like when something's going to be used, at some point it's got to be, you know, worth more money. It's got a use case. So it's just one of those that, you know, it's good news definitely to see that stuff coming out. You know, the big news I felt like over the last couple of days was USDC is live on Stellar's network.
Yeah. That's kind of big.
Which
USDC is going to be our stablecoin. It's
right.
going to be our CBDC.
Right, and that's where all the you know, look at anything, it's all pointing to that. Stellar Lumens is that sister company that we've touched on the podcast of Ripple. They have the XLM token on there, and we've kind of touched on that.
And what people need to wrap their head around is, and I know this is slightly off topic, but that USDC, man, you can turn your US dollars into USDC, put it in a place like Nexo, and earn 8% compounding daily.
Right.
Like, it's going to be our CBDC. There's a reason why this Stellar is working with the USDC, and it's going to be our CBDC. Just like every other country is developing CBDCs right now, this is going to be ours. You can earn 8% on it if you're sitting on money. There is a better way. All right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, but it's just one of those, like we've touched on, like the utility, like Ripple, Stellar, Zenfin. Like you see these blockchain companies, Algorand, with all their connections.
Yes.
And so when you see things like, you know, Stellar, so USDC essentially is gonna needs a blockchain in a network to move across.
Yep.
And so that's what,
and track us with.
Right. And so that's what Stellar is, and they'll use their XLM token. We've touched on this, like for the retail investor. So it'll go from
it's going to do exactly what XRP is going to do for the central banks in the back on the back end with the wholesale. Is going to do for us on the retail. Right. So when we send our USDC cross border and do all that kind of stuff, it's going to happen on the back end, but it's going to happen on the back end on Ripple when central banks are doing it with each other. But when we're doing it, when we want to send money to our family, you know, vacationing in Spain or whatever the case may be, or whatever, wherever they may be, we can send it and it'll go, our USDC will roll over the Stellar network and get to wherever it's got to get to on the globe. Right.
And so that's the, you know, again, sister network. So you if you just kind of start putting stuff together, like with that happening with Volante, like all these partnerships, you have BIS coming out with, you know, they're saying there needs to be, you know, on an entity based with regulatory framework for big tech. So they're like, again, the regulatory clarity that needs to be coming in.
the governor of England bringing up Ripple by name,
Yeah,
and talking about how it's going to be a company that's going to really take off when all this kind of goes. So it's the right people, like certain YouTubers like Brad Hines or something. He says a lot is these ain't YouTubers, like this ain't Alan the Hot,
yeah,
saying these things and telling you, oh, it's going to happen. Like, bro, these are the people that actually make rules on this planet, telling you by name what's going to happen. Like, they don't give a shit about this SEC lawsuit at all.
no,
This is about to happen in their eyes. I mean, Davos just happened, and the people at Davos don't necessarily say Ripple or XRP by name, but when they're describing stuff,
yep,
and what they're describing is XRP's use case to a T,
and Ripple's technologies use case.
Yeah. They didn't say it, but
and it goes back to, like we touched on, like when people talk about like the cross-border payments and all that stuff, like that's the obvious, like that's the one that Ripple's really attacked. And when we say like obviously Ripple, like their technology, like we've touched on before, the most efficient way for it to work is to use XRP. So ideally Ripple wants to use XRP. So that's where you get that that connection there of, that's what's going to be happening is they're going to start using it. All these, like you said, like we've touched on before, all these connections with all these federal banks, all these central banks, that they're starting to open up, and
then you mix in the Flare network with like their motto is unlocking the value, and with Flare. So Flare is already got XRP, of course, but then Litecoin, Dogecoin, Gala, which is a coin that's going to deal with gaming. I look into that because there's not that many of those, and that's also a sub penny. I think that's 4/10 of a penny as of right now. But there are like Flare is basically going to allow these ECR20 coins, these Ethereum coins, to run with the speed and efficiency of XRP. And those that have the Spark token, and you can purchase Spark token on BitTrue, but those that have the Spark token are going to be able to collateralize their XRP and turn it into FXRP, and then from there you'll be able to earn dividends or interest on it because you're starting the Flare network, and people are going to be able to buy or lease or borrow, that's what it is, borrow your XRP, of course, at interest on your end. So you are being incentivized by the airdrop, to loan it out, and basically at no risk to the free coins they gave you. But even now, though, like currently now, I'm still, like I told you, before we started, I'm still accumulating Spark tokens. I mean, because the way I'm seeing it are these Spark tokens, and XRP is going to be, whatever it's going to be. I know what XRP is going to be, but these Spark tokens are going to be a percentage of these XRP, because you got to use 2.5 of them, or 2 of them, or I think it is 2.5 of them, in order to collateralize your XRP in order to turn it into FXRP. So there's money to be made off of the free coins, but the way I'm looking at it is like Spark has already turned into my second highest bag, and it did for you too, and it did for everybody that has XRP, that has XRP as their main bag, because it just matched you, and now the price of it, I mean, goodness. So
it's one of those, like you touched on, it's going to be used, and the use case for it is so it's essentially opening up XRP to other quote unquote ecosystems, but allowing it to
all the money.
Allowing it to do everything else. It's kind of interesting. I was just looking at some stuff. So Visa CEO, like Visa, the credit card for people that not paying attention, but
what did he say? Say it. Read it.
Cryptocurrencies would be added to the network, I mean, every single Visa card holder would have access to cryptocurrency payments. He also said, it goes without saying, to the extent specifically digital currency becomes a means of exchange, there's no reason why we cannot add it to our network. You know, I was just sitting here thinking about it. The funny part is what people don't realize is they already have cryptocurrency Visa cards and MasterCards. Yep. And so you're starting, and like we've touched on, Uphold is a MasterCard. And I could go to the store and use it, buy XRP or sell or buy whatever with XRP or whatever. Crypto.com has a Visa that you could get a debit card and do the same thing with it.
Nexo's coming with theirs.
Nexo has theirs.
Going to be a MasterCard.
And so you're starting to see all these companies, and it goes back to the fact that what's really going on behind the scenes, what we're telling you, they haven't announced yet. And so for Visa's CEO to be saying, yeah, you know, we're looking at, there's no reason why we can't put cryptocurrencies on our Visa card. That's because they've already fucking done it. Like when the public starts hearing shit, it's already done. That's the crazy part. Like, again, you're looking at the, you know, the Sith Lords trying to control everything and controlling what they're telling you. And so it's just kind of crazy.
So yeah, when they put it out there, when they put these articles out there from these, you know, quote unquote reputable sites, but when they put these articles out there, these CEOs saying this stuff, quotas saying this kind of stuff, yeah, this stuff is done. The cake is baked. Yeah. It's all happening. It's just when. We don't know, you know, exactly when. We have no idea when. But the if is a done deal. That's gone. It's going to happen. Like, these guys are telling us it's going to happen. And you're not going to get an email. They're not going to freaking call you up and say, hey, by the way, we're going to go ahead and flip this switch. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be, we're going to wake up one day and shit will be different. And you got to think that they're speeding up money. They're speeding up money like the internet sped up letters that you wanted, or communication that you wanted to send. Like the telephone, you know, sped up communication. And then the internet sped up data. You know, the car sped up horse and carriage. You know, this is going to speed up the velocity of money. And it's going to blow harder than the internet did. And that meant it a lot of money.
A lot of money.
This is on another level.
Well, and it goes back to, we've touched on it, and I'll have to find it and pull it from one of the other podcasts. But like you see all these videos of David Schwartz that we've talked about, and Brad Garlinghouse, who's the CEO of Ripple, and he's flat on, one of his examples that he uses is, if you really sit and think about it, like what Ripple and XRP are trying to do as far as cross-border payments, is if you look at it as like you were talking about, like a telephone. If essentially right now, most of what goes on, like, is essentially me having an AT&T cell phone and only being able to talk to people with AT&T, and whereas, but you don't
like the
have
internet
that.
Was.
Yeah, you don't have that
internet.
You don't have that.
If you want AOL, you got AOL, but you couldn't talk to freaking people on Yahoo.
Right. You know, and so it turned into, you know, okay, so you don't want that. So now everybody can talk to everybody. You know, if it doesn't matter if I have AT&T, you have Verizon or whatever. And so essentially that's what XRP or Ripple do. They allow that. They're the bridge asset. They're the medium of exchange between the financial systems. And I just saw an interesting article. It says JP Morgan, I don't know if you saw this, but JP Morgan's launching digital retail bank in the UK. But all they're doing, but the interesting part is they're not opening banks there. They're just allowing people to have digital mobile apps. And so everything would be digital. But it goes back to, again, how
JP Morgan is on the policymaker toolkit alongside of XRP.
Right. And
the global policymaker
goes back to how are you,
all the G7 got.
If it's all digital, how are you exchanging that money? How are you transferring it to, you know, pounds or whatever? And so, but it's just all that type of stuff, that digital stuff, it's all coming. It's just crazy the amount of innovation and
Yeah, but man, like think about that. The policymaker toolkit, and you guys can look that up. Okay, is a policymaker toolkit where it was the G7, I believe. So it was United States and the seven most financially powerful countries on the planet met, and they figured out. Okay, um, damn it, where were we at? What was I talking about?
G7, JP Morgan.
Yeah, but yeah, so in the policymaker toolkit, there's JP Morgan and there's XRP as for cross-border payments. But everybody and their mother knows that nobody is going to use the JP Morgan. If you're another bank, are you going to use the JP Morgan coin, or are you going to use the coin that basically doesn't have a person behind it? Are you going to use the coin that's going to run on JP Morgan's on ledger and be controlled by JP Morgan? Or are you going to use the coin that basically is open ledger for everybody?
Yeah, we use open ledger.
So that's what this is boiling down to. And this policymaker toolkit went out to the G7. So things crack from the top down. Okay, so when the G7 say, okay, we're going to use this, then that spreads out to the G20, then to the G30, and then so on and so forth. So this is going to be used because this is the policymaker toolkit that they gave out for the financials of each country. Like, it doesn't get any more plain than that. Look that up.
No, and that's the thing. People we talk about all the time. There's so much news. It's hard to keep up with. But you had other news with Ripple too. You had them actually, excuse me, had them send over basically their, I guess what is it, their response or rebuttal to the SEC lawsuit. And essentially they ripped them apart. Like, you could go look it up. I don't have it in front of me, but essentially we're like, can you please pull out the, like, they went back and said, basically you deem that Ethereum was not a security back in whatever year it was. And we're like basically throwing that in their face of like, you're trying to do this, but you already determined that
that's the criteria.
Yeah.
Give us the criteria that you use to get to deem them not a security. We want to know.
Yeah. And so totally ripped them. It's one of those, like, you sit there and look at that and you're like, how do you even like argue that point unless you're and unless you're going to bring down the whole crypto space, which they're not, because it's again it's where everything's headed is to the digital space. So it just goes back to that.
Game. It's all a game. It's all theater. It's what they got to do. It's the game they got to play. To hide the fact that they fucked up the financial system with their fractional reserve banking, the Fed, and all these other central banks printing up money to be damned. It's all fucked up, and this is their out. This is the way, and the shit is going to crash. Like the stock market, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
the stock market's at all-time high, been at all-time highs forever. It's going to go. It's the same. It's the same concept of what we were talking about with being at their highs, and then you're hearing people talk. Everybody knows about the stock market right now.
The bubble.
It's a big bubble. It's a huge bubble. And when it pops, where's that money going to flow to?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you sit and think about it. We touched on, I still never found that video for the Triffin Dilemma, but touched on the Triffin Dilemma last week. And it goes back to, here we are, our government's trying to pass another stimulus bill. They're going to have to print money.
A lot of it.
A lot of money. And it's, inflating. And it goes back to the more we print money and inflate our dollar, it hurts other countries. And so it kind of goes back to, when if you really sit and think about it, like, why are they? Because they obviously, and in the past couple of years, they've been printing, like, I forgot the numbers, but it's something like they've printed like 75% of the money in the past like 10 years or something. I don't even know if it's been that long.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw something today.
It's been 22 to 30 in the last year. 2020 was 22 to 30% of the total amount of money printed just in 2020.
Right. And so when you sit there and think about it, they're just printing the crap out of it. And there's like, they're not holding back. They're not doing anything like that. And it's just kind of nuts.
With that, I just heard that their goal is to let it run hot. Like inflation, yeah, it might run hot or whatever, but they're about to turn it up. Like it's about to go on overdrive, the printing.
Right.
So, in fact, I posted a picture. It was of the U.S. dollar, and I posted it before. But basically, when it started, back in 1913, I believe it was, and then just the downward ticks of it just going down with different price points, like
Right.
when gold, when they confiscated gold, Bretton Woods, Nixon taking us off, 2008, and you just see our purchasing power dwindling and dwindling and dwindling and dwindling away. And we're at the point now where, compared to 1913, we're at about 1% of our purchasing power. The value of $1 in 1913 is 1% of it is, or it is right now 1% of that. What if it was in 1913? So when they turn up these printing press, it's about to get bad.
Right.
Meaning gas going up, meaning groceries going up, meaning all that stuff is going up. And if you're not in something sound, if you're not in something that's inflation proof, like a precious metal or crypto, meaning a crypto that they cannot print anymore, because you can look on the cryptos and do your research on them, and then you can see some of the cryptos have a max supply, circulating supply, all that kind of stuff. But when it has that, when you look on the total supply and it has something weird like ongoing or can be added to or whatever the case, I don't know what the technical term is they use, but that's the type of stuff that can be inflated. That's the kind of stuff that they can print at will. And then when they do that, it's going to devalue your coin. XRP, XDC, XLM, most good coin, even the proof of works, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all of them, you can mine them.
Right.
Meaning you can hook up your computer, and actually I had a miner, but it's, it just takes so much energy and it heats up the entire freaking house. But you can mine them, but there's still a total amount. Like the mining is going to be done at some point, in I don't know how many years, 50 years or whatever.
And it's a really slow rate.
Unless they hook that shit up into one of these quantum computers.
Right.
That should be interesting, because all mining is complex math problems.
Right.
That's all it is. So if you hook that up to a quantum computer that's doing, the work of a supercomputer in a year, they say these quantum computers can do the work of a supercomputer in a year that they can do maybe a week or in hours or whatever the case may be. So if that's the case, they can mine these Bitcoins in a snap, throw them on the XRP ledger, and use something like Flare Network and get the value to move fast.
Yeah.
But still it can do its job as a store of value. But hell, XRP will be a store of value.
Right. At that point. And it goes back, like you touched on, like certain, like XRP as a 100
billion.
100 billion supply, like XDC coins like that. Like XDC is what, 137 million? It was a 37 billion?
XDC is like 37. And then XLM used to be 100, and then they burned like 50 of them or 60 of them.
I think I saw something. There was another token where it was like, but that's where people kind of look into stuff of you see some of these tokens that still haven't popped yet, and you look at what's their max supply, and obviously the less tokens that there are, depending on what the use case is and whatever, like off of speculation strictly, the price is going to go up.
So supply and demand.
Yeah. But we touched on that Triffin dilemma. I was thinking about this the other day, and we could kind of just talk about this for a minute, but it goes back to, as far as inflation, having a global reserve currency to stabilize everything. It's kind of an interesting thought, because I thought I saw somebody talking about it, like essentially, if once they get to a global reserve currency where everything's backed by something, we could potentially print whatever we wanted. And obviously it could cause inflation within our borders,
own country,
our own country, but it won't affect
other
the
countries
UK.
and global trade.
Yeah, it won't affect Saudi Arabia or China or whoever.
So me and you were doing trade. All right, go ahead. Yeah, finish.
So I was going to say that we've, like certain things like we've touched on, because I was thinking about this with stuff that we've touched on with like universal basic income and, these stimulus bills that are coming in. Like you're starting to hear congressmen and people talking about, you know, they want to send monthly checks till the pandemic, quote unquote, is over. And it goes back to, well, how are you going to get all that money? And it's like, well, you're going to print it. But it's one of those where if there's a global reserve currency, the U.S. could print, if they had USDC or whatever, they could print whatever the frick they wanted and give it to the people, and it wouldn't affect
control
anybody.
us with it. It wouldn't affect any other country. That's
Right.
the whole point of this. This would take out that tripping dilemma. It would allow wholesale, so you could print your money to be damned, but the value of it, what's that value? Because a percentage of it is going to be fixed to gold. That's why all these central banks and all that have been stacking gold. You guys can look up,
big time,
how much the central banks have been buying gold, and you'll see the money is going to be backed by fractionally by gold. Once it's backed by fractionally by gold, so it'll be tied to something, but they're still going to give them since it's fractionally backed, it's still going to give them the option to print or whatever the case may be. Not to the extent that they print now, but they're still going to be able to do that. But so if you devalue your, you know, national currency, so if I devalue my national currency of half, then when I'm trading with Al, then I would just have to send more of my currency out to reach the value of whatever we agreed on, as far as that neutral reference point, which we believe to be XRP for the wholesale.
Right.
Is what it boils down to.
And in reality, if you really think about it, like the government don't give a shit. Like they could, because like you said, they could print whatever they wanted to. And you know, if they're printing, and they want to do a trade where they got to send, okay, well, now I got to send for every $1, I got to send $2 or whatever. They don't give a shit because they're just going to print more of it.
Yeah.
So it just gets to a point where it's no longer affecting anybody else. So it is that level playing field that we've been talking
nationally.
about. Right.
And or see, and here's the thing with that. So that's why there's two ways. There's the global currency reset where all the currencies actually reset, and then there's the great reset where that's where we kind of talking about, where they're still able to print, they're still able to do whatever they want, and then the inflation still happens, house prices still stay. But if you think about it, if we were able to get that purchasing power back to the US dollar, meaning we got 100% of that dollar, not the 0.1% or 90 or 1% or whatever. Everything else would have to revalue. Homes would have to revalue. Groceries have to revalue. Cars, everything would have to revalue to go along with that. So I think that's when we would get back to the $15,000 homes and $20,000 homes and all that kind of stuff. And your dollar would just go further because it wouldn't be able to inflate it away as they're doing now. I think that would happen if we went back to a fully backed dollar by gold. If that happened, then there is no printing.
Right.
There is what it is.
No, I get you on that.
With the XRP still serving as the neutral reference point, because ultimately I wouldn't want your money, you wouldn't want mine.
Right.
Just so that would still sit in the middle, and that puts every other dollar on par with each other.
Right.
So
essentially, like, you know, we talk about like us selling military equipment to whoever, us selling military equipment to Saudi Arabia or whoever freaking in the Middle East, the Palestinians or whatever, Jerusalem or Israel and all that stuff. Like they don't want our US dollar. So it goes to, again, the XRP is going to be that medium exchange, that bridge asset where when you're doing those global exchanges, you're going to be able to switch it over in 3 to 4 seconds. And so that's kind of
XLM when we are doing
right
global exchanges, or we're doing, you know, whatever we're doing. So meaning, and when we're talking retail, we're talking about the people, but we're also talking about when you're sending that, when you make that payment, or when you're buying that stuff on Amazon and it's shipping from another country, but it's us shipping.
Yeah.
They're going to be using the Stellar network, and they're going to be using the USDC through the Stellar network, and that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. The retail, it's literally us doing things. It's us sending money to ourselves. Like the example I used earlier, the person that was in Spain or whatever the case may be, it's us doing any type of cross-border stuff, buying stuff from Canada, buying stuff from Mexico, whatever. That's what's going to be used for us. because it's going to be a lower value. So yeah, holding XL in my mind, holding XLM is good because it's going to be one of the winners.
Yeah.
But because it's dealing with us, the price is not going to have to be as high,
right,
as it's going to have to be with dealing with XRP, because they're just dealing with a different amount of volume of money.
No, yeah, you talk about like even when you just look at, like you said, Volante at 6 trillion, or like going after Swift at 5-6 trillion a day. That like you got to think if they're, so that's two Ripple or not two, but even at Volante, we just look at Volante at 6 trillion a day, and we've touched on this before. Like, I'm not selling my XRP, you're not selling your XRP. There's essentially 50 billion of them locked up in escrow.
Yeah.
And so what is the actual circulating supply that the governments or banks are actually going to use, or that they have, that they're going to be having to send the $6 trillion a day? And so that's where you start to figure.
That's just one use case.
Right.
That's not talking about FX trading or derivatives or any of the other use cases. That's just one use case.
All the money tap stuff that they're talking about, all that. And again, it goes to, and this is where people, I think, kind of don't think about it. We've talked about it, but it's like people talk about, like, oh, there's no way it'll get to $10,000 a token. But if they're moving $6 trillion a day, it's not like, say Wells Fargo is using it, say JP Morgan Chase, they're sending it back and forth, but it's got to be at a certain point where they don't need millions upon millions of them to move money. And so it's got to be efficient. It's like David Schwartz said, he's tweeted it out, and you brought it up, I think, in one of the podcasts. Like, there's no point. There's no point in, if XRP was $1, you'd have to send 1 million of them to send $1 million, or XRP could be $1 million and you just send one of them. And so that's where you kind of get to that point of, okay, what could it really be at? Because if they're sending trillions of dollars,
David Schwartz is a CTO,
right?
The chief technical officer.
And so
anybody would know, he would know.
Yeah, and it goes back to, like, well, why is he saying that? Like, and I'm not, who knows? It
could be bullshit.
Well, yeah, it could be bullshit, but it
could be.
The bottom line is whether he thinks it's $1 million or not, it ain't gonna be $1 token. Like, there's no, that doesn't make any sense for what use case they're going after. If you think about just the cross-border payment systems, they're sending trillions upon trillions of dollars daily. And so when you really sit and think about that,
there's another 6 trillion. I forgot about them. Their Ripple is Swift 2.0. So 6 trillion Swift, 6 trillion Volante, 2 trillion FX market. Then if they digitize the real estate market, which they're talking about doing, that's another 200 trillion. Derivatives is in the quadrillions. Like, and then you already said 50 billion are locked up, and 1 billion of those gets released monthly, which I think could be with ultimately to help make sure it's liquefied each month.
Like, make sure they have enough ODL.
Yeah, plus whatever else is out there. If it's just 1 billion XRP that they have for ODL, then shit.
Right.
But I would assume it would be more than that.
And that's where, you start to think about it, and maybe, we've touched on this before. Like, if XRP were to go to $10,000, I don't even know for sure, even at 1,000 or something, but say it went to $10,000, like, Ripple would be the most powerful company in the world. Like, they have so much. Yeah, they have so much XRP. And I'm not talking about escrow, because obviously they don't own the escrow, but they own, what is it, like 7 million or 8 million XRP?
No,
and so
I think they're in the billions.
Or billion, yeah, sorry. Yeah. And so when you sit and think about it, at $10,000 a token, and that could be where maybe the SEC's kind of, you guys you can't be holding that much XRP. It's one of those, like, we understand, but you guys need to start moving that, because we're
unless they become a bank,
right? They become a bank, and they can do that.
Get that bank charter,
which has been talked about. Or as far as
then they can be a lender type, because they still hold 6 billion, and ultimately these smaller type places they can lend XRP to and get them going at
well,
you
and
know,
they
of course,
have.
that
We haven't
takes away.
actually touched
Yeah,
on that. I think about what 2 months ago they came out with that credit system. Ripple
yeah,
did.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we haven't touched on it at all.
They're acting as a bank. Now
That,
the escrow is something different, and that can be what PolySign is you know, coming around to do, because I know PolySign is custodian, and they're supposed to be able to scale into the trillions and all
right.
this, that, and the other. So
And
if they're holding the escrow, that, you know, between PolySign and maybe the IMF, BIS, whatever the case may be, that can be something different. Ripple can still, with their 6 billion, help out the small, medium enterprises or whatever, the small, medium companies that are trying to be upcoming, and plus probably help some more bigger ones, but they still sell the infrastructure.
right. And
they always got to come back to them for the infrastructure.
Right. And so that's the thing. So Ripple's already loaning out on credit to the smaller banks that can't afford it. That's really what Brad Garlinghouse said was, you know, we're helping out these smaller banks, you know, that aren't the big Wells Fargos and stuff all around the country, all around the world.
Level playing field.
They're leveling the playing fields. They're helping out these banks and loaning out the XRP so they could use it to send payments cheap. And that's the thing. That's the big part of it. We've touched on it before, is how cheap it is and how quick it is. But yeah, you touched on the PolySign thing, which it hasn't really been announced yet. Like, everybody kind of knows they're a partner with Ripple, but like everybody's still kind of waiting on for the big announcement to come out. But you sent I think we haven't really looked into it a ton. It was just, I think it was just something maybe you could touch on a little bit more, but it was something you found about essentially PolySign equity, and they're, you know, selling equity to individuals, and David Schwartz is on there.
Arthur Brito.
Like
the cats that were on the Ripple board and to help developing, you know, the XRP ledger and stuff like that, are now working at PolySign. And
right.
PolySign is the big secret. If you listen to Digital Asset Investor, every time he says PolySign, it's a whisper. PolySign. He'll whisper the PolySign because it's the big secret. But they're supposed to be the custodian, and it's you know, rumored or speculated that they're going to be ones to hold the 50 billion XRP to get that off of Ripple's
case.
Ripple's case. And you know, who knows what's going to happen with PolySign, because they're filing things with the SEC. And I actually looked at the document, because there's like, they've been filing things with the SEC since 2018.
Right.
And if you look at the top of the document, are you actually looking at the documents at all?
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
Okay, look. Yeah, can you read the top of the document, please?
So it says United States Securities and Exchange Commission, Form D, Notice of Exempt Offering of Securities.
In the box at the very
top. Yeah, so it says Securities and Exchange Commission has not necessarily reviewed the information in this filing and has not yet determined if it is accurate and complete. The reader should not assume that the information is accurate and complete.
Okay, so I read that, and then I checked and said, okay, well, that I'm just looking at the one that was just filed, you know, a couple of weeks ago. And then when I checked down to the one that was filed in 2018, it said the same damn thing.
Well, this one says like, 2017.
Oh yeah. Well, here's my question. What the fuck are they doing over there? Like, seriously.
It's the government.
What are they doing over there?
It's the government. Like, although when you go down to the bottom of it, and again, sorry people, we said we'd look into it a little bit more, probably have more info on it next podcast, but look back at the bottom, it says like the signature on it, Sherry Porter, Secretary and General Counsel at PolySign, and it's dated January 11th of 2021. So that maybe that's when they submitted it, because the specific year is what they're talking about is the issuer identity. So within the last 5 years, and that specific year is 2017. So but at the bottom of the page, or bottom of the document,
on the 2017 one,
yeah, on the 2017 one, the bottom of the document, it says for signature and signee's name, the letters, characters adopted and authorized signer signature. Issuer's PolySign, signature is Sherry Sherry Porter, titles Secretary and General Counsel, date January 11th, 2021.
Okay.
So it looks like it's been recent. So good find on your part. I don't even know where you found it.
Oh, Twitter, man. All the news on Twitter. Come on.
I know, but it's one of those with PolySign, like you said, like it's the big secret. And that's where, you know, in the space, everybody's kind of like, when's the PolySign announcement? When's the PolySign announcement? And you touched on like the custody aspect of it. And I did see an article where, like, the funny part is, you know, we talked about the OCC announcing that they are going to, you know, what was that? Middle of summer last year that banks could custody crypto.
Yeah,
you had Kraken applied and got it. Avalanche got it. And then I did see an article. I don't know, I'll have to find it later, but it was like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and some other bank were like discussing being, you know, custody holders of cryptocurrencies. And it's like, again, what are they telling the masses? It's so they're already cleared to do it, right? They've already been cleared by the OCC to do it. You see like Kraken and these other essentially fintechs and crypto exchanges
getting in first up.
Right.
You notice that. So the crypto exchanges are getting in first, and then what is that doing to these traditional banks?
Making them do it.
It's pulling their whole card. It's pulling that card. Either you guys better get in, or you know, and then
get
the
left
thing
behind.
is
and Brian Brooks has said that multiple times.
Yes. And the thing is and the people don't know about Nexa. The people don't know about turning their US dollars into US dollar coin. They don't know about BitTrue. They don't know about Uphold. They don't know about these things. And these traditional banks are slow playing the hell out of this, because when they do find out, they're done.
Yep.
Or they're gonna have to raise their interest rates to compete, and they can't do that.
Right.
Because if they do, everything implodes.
Right. Yeah. Could you imagine like going to Wells Fargo and get 8% on your savings account? Like, yeah, they wouldn't do that. And that's the thing we've touched on. Like, normal people are just going to go through Wells Fargo. Like it's, you know, and essentially until everything kind of flips over, we're still going to have to, we've touched on it before, we're still going to have our Wells Fargo account or whatever until the shit pops. But it's just working
100% on interest.
Right. It's one of those, like, you go back, like I said, it's what are the masses willing to tell you? Like, they're already allowed to hold crypto. So now they're just being like, oh, we're discussing. No, you're gonna fucking do it. Like, you're already allowed to.
For 6 months.
You're seeing was it USAA? I think I've touched on this before. Like USAA, you can link your Coinbase wallets to USAA. So essentially, you have your Coinbase wallets on your USAA accounts.
You found that gold spot that you can pay in XRP.
Yeah, I think it's actually on is it JM Bullion now too? But it was like Swiss Bullion or Swiss something.
Swiss. Yeah, it was Swiss.
And it was like you could buy XRP, Bitcoin, whatever. You could purchase gold and silver and stuff.
Some nice coins on there too.
Yeah,
their coins look clean on there.
Yeah, but that's where we're saying, like, the masses aren't telling you, you know, they're slowly going to start telling you, but when they're ready to tell you, and that's when you start seeing the news coming out about the banks and all that kind of stuff. What they want you to know, that's what they're going to tell you. All the other stuff you're going to have to do your own research on, and that's where, you know, we've gone down the rabbit holes of what the mainstream media wants you to know, and they want you to divide it and look at the shiny thing in the window over here, because this is what we're doing behind the scenes. And you know, they'll slip things out like we're talking about cryptocurrency, but it'll be a little 10-second blurb on it, and then that's it. Like, well, you got to think about a bell curve. Okay.
Yeah. And everybody knows what a bell curve is. You know the percentages on the bell curve is like a 12%, that 33%, that middle percent, then going back down, that 33%, that 12%, and then at 2%.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's the bell curve. Like I would say I was probably a little after that 2% because I wasn't early. Those early cats were 2011, 13, 15, all that kind of stuff. I got in at 17, so I'm probably at that 2%. You got in a little bit after me, so you're probably in that 7 to 10%. But we're moving to the point now where it's you got people like that lead singer of freaking Kiss talking about he owns some Dogecoin. Yeah, he owns some XRP. You got Soldier Boy tweeting out that, hey, how the hell can I get some XRP? So, and this is not like, and we stated numerous times, this is not like Dogecoin, and this is not like Bitcoin. Like, the utility will come. Okay, so the price is irrelevant. You just got to understand what you hold. But you got, people starting to figure out that, well, I think this one is different. You know what I'm saying? And when more and more people start figuring that out, that curve on that bell gets higher, and higher and higher, and that means that your opportunity for the better gains, the best gains, are dwindling. Yeah. Like, you got to think about the cast in 2014 to 2000. I think it was about 16 and a half that got in the XRP sub penny. Like, those cats that got in sub penny are already staring at. Probably. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or damn close to it, but just off the sheer volume of how many you can get at sub penny, and it's sitting at 39 cents right now.
Yep.
So, and the thing about it, and now that I think about it, as far as buying price, your buying price is better than mine by at least 9 or 10 cents.
Ours. Yeah. We've talked about that, but the dollar cost average between us, just because you were in it when it was coming down.
Early, and I wrote it, and I was writing it down. But the fact that I've just had more time to accumulate is the swap on that. But your buying price, and then you guys got to think about it right now. My original buying price for XRP, I think, was like 41 or 42 cents. You know what I'm saying? We're at 38 right now. So will it go back down to, that 17 to 20 cent range? Hell, who knows? But the fact of the matter is you, me, we're good. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, okay. It doesn't make a difference. But for those that are just kind of not getting into the game, and we encourage you, we always say this, encourage you to do your research, understand what you hold, the whole nine, only invest what you, are actually willing to lose. And we are not financial advisors. But once you get past all that and you understand what you hold, like, these are all good buys, especially if your bags are not packed yet, if your bags are not where you want them to be, and you actually have that discretionary income, like, hell, they're supposed to dump all this money on us, right? They're going to be printing to be damned. They're supposed to give you the other $1,400 of your stimulus. Take care of what you got to take care of first. But if you got that disposable, if you have a little bit disposable because they dropped this cash on you, and I'm Jordans, or those pants, or no.
Yep.
You can floss now, you can floss later.
Well, it goes back to,
why would you want to floss now when you're on pandemic lockdown?
Yeah, I'll floss later on my Lambo.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not into that stuff, but that's what you see in the crypto space all the time. But it goes back to, and you're starting to see it. Like, I have friends, Boogs is one of them. Like, he takes a stimulus check and you just put it in savings. He's, he's saving money to get a house and stuff. But it's one of those, like, you get that stimulus check, or that, that $20 here, or do I need to buy those J's? Or what can I cut out on? Do I really need, this other, whatever, even if they're not J's, I really need this other pair of shoes. Do I need this? Can you, not, like you said, like, perfect example, especially like now, can I do I floss now, or do I just wait and then do whatever the hell I want to do later? And like
my
you
wife
said,
was just giving it to me a little earlier, because I just picked up some $29 Adidas. They're like hiking tennis shoes from freaking Costco. And she was just like, no. And I'm just like looking at them like, listen, man, they're gray. They got a little bit of like orangish, reddish. We got burnt orange that where I'm working at right now. Yeah. So I was, I'm like, hey, $29, they comfortable. I don't give a damn. I don't care. I don't.
Yep. And that's the thing. It goes back, and I've always been, for people that know me and people that football players that we've coached and stuff, like, I've I got the J's. I have them, like I do, and I still like. I haven't bought any in 2-3 years, you know. But and that goes back to just I got to a point where I bought a couple of them and whatever, and I was like, do I really need to spend $200 on shoes that I don't wear that often? Like, like that's the reality of them too. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like right before Christmas, there was a pair of. I think I talked to you about it, but like we're like just shopping. I was just wandering around and saw the reverse flu games, like the Jordan 11, they're like $200, and I'm like, God, those are fucking sweet. They're reverse, so they're like mainly red with some black in it, and I'm like, fucking Nebraska like colors, like they were fire. But I'm like, I maybe will wear those a dozen times throughout the year. Like it's like that, and that's just
you don't
me.
wear
like,
them out.
I don't wear them out. It'd be something like I wear them to a game or something like that, maybe, but wouldn't wear them that often. And it's not, and it's red. So I'm not the person that's like I'm gonna rock these red ass shoes every day. So it just turns into like, do I really need to?
That functional.
Yeah, do I really need to throw that $200 at that, or can we save some money or throw it into crypto? So it's all about, do you need the Beats headphones? Like,
seriously.
It's one of those. Working where I'm working currently, it's like I was helping this guy and I placed an order for him, and he was buying the new Apple. I forgot what they're called, like the Pro Maxes, which are essentially like the over the ear like Apple headphones now. Like they used to obviously the earbuds and stuff, but they look like this Beats Studio headphones. They're fucking $500 a piece. And I'm like just looking at this and I'm like thinking like I have a pair of Beats. I mean, they're 4 years old or whatever. But again, going back to where, I kind of, I went through where I had some money that wasn't doing anything, was single, and I kind of was just spending money stupidly. But
yeah, everybody's been there.
Yeah, and so
some people are still there.
But I'm like looking at them now, and I'm like, shit, I got like a $20 headset on now that's from work. Like, it's one of those like, I ain't trying to spend any more money on that shit. Like, if I don't need to, if I could get by with the $20 headphones, cool. Like, it's not that big of a deal anymore.
I get these little $25, $30 ones because the missus won't buy me no more because I always lose these things. But it's about function. As long as they work, man. Like, but right now, it's floss now, floss later. Like my shoes, they're functional. They cost $29. They're comfortable. They're damn near hiking shoes with a little tennis shoe feel. I ain't gonna post that shit. I'll probably get clowned. I don't give a shit though.
What are those?
but on the real, man, cats know me from like college, man. I used to wear issue every day. Every day I was.
We've talked about that.
Shit. Shoes, all that shit. I don't care. I don't care. I'm clean every day. My clothes is clean. My shoes is clean.
Comfortable.
I go to work, I handle my business, I come home.
The crazy part is that we're a little bit off topic here, but not really, because we're talking about, just spending stupid money. But like I look in my closet, and obviously like the current job I have, I'm at home all the time. I don't wear and like honestly, like your wife's the same. Like my fiance is ultra frugal. Like she is not about like the fit. She's all about like, she got a purse a couple months ago because it was ripping a little bit. So she got like a backpack that has like a strap.
Yeah, I know my wife got one too.
It was like $30 and she loves it. And so she's not into like, oh, I got to get a Coach bag and never like even shoes and stuff. Like she don't care as long as they're comfortable. And I'm sitting here looking like I'm still rocking like my cowboy football shirts at home. Like I'm just wearing a black t-shirt, some comfortable sweats. Like it's kind of funny. I look in my closet. I'm like, I got all these fucking t-shirts that are nice. I got like some button-up flannels that, you know what I mean? Like just all this shit. And I'm like, I don't wear this shit ever. But it's hard to throw away because you spent the money on it. So it's like, I'm not just going to toss it or donate it. But and then honestly, like
donate and write it off.
I just got a new job, be working back at a high school again. I was at the district office, and the one lady I was talking to, she's like, be ready, because I got like, they gave me a couple shirts or whatever for district shirts and stuff. She's like, be ready. She's like, they freaking give you so much gear there. Like everybody that works there, I'm like, sweet. I'm like, bring it on, because I will rock that everywhere. And you know how we were. It's like, you laugh about the Oregon team issue stuff, but You know, I wear Nebraska gear all the time. Like, obviously, I don't have anything to do with them other than I'm a fan. But
when I worked at Canyon, what did I wear every day?
What did I wear every day? Like, we there was multiple days in a row we were wearing the same shit, and so we just wore our coaching gear or whatever. But it was just, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, I'm comfortable with that. Like, I'll wear that shit around town. But it gets back to that, like, what do you really like? What are you really wearing on a daily basis? Like, do you need the multiple pairs of Jordans that you're gonna wear, like, maybe once a month, twice a month, depending on what you're doing? And I know people that maybe listen to this do their thing. Like, I know one of them that listens to it, like, we both have Jordans and stuff, but it's just, you're getting to a point that I think you get to an age where you're like, I like them, but is it worth it? What can I do with that $200? And what's that $200 right now gonna get me in the future?
And the thing is once you start investing and you see the seed start growing, and it's not even necessarily because the price is going up or going down or whatever the case may be. It's you see the seed start growing. Like when you're dealing with your XRP, when we're dealing with our XRP, when people in our group are dealing with our XRP, you know, we're continually stacking.
Right.
Okay, we're continually, you know, whether it's, you know, a little $10 here, a little $20 here, whatever, you know, whatever we got a little extra, we're continually stacking. And where we see it is with the interest. When we're looking at, you know, when we're counting up our interest that we're getting, and we're seeing that it's compounding daily, and we're seeing that it's continually growing, like that's a good feeling.
Right.
To see, because it's we're accomplishing something, and the cool thing about it is you're doing it, and it's not for now. It's for the future. It's for your kids. It's for your grandkids. It's for, you know, their generations and their generations. It's that's the type of moment I think we're sitting in right now, sitting flat dab in the middle of, and people that take advantage of this, and all the information is out there to take away your doubt, to take away, but what about, all the information is out there if you just go look at it. And it's just, it's patience with anything. If you can have patience and consistency, you'll be good. And that's all this game is. You figured it out. I've figured it out, and you take it a day at a time. You don't get too far ahead. You don't get high. You don't get low, because that's going to get the emotion. It's when you're dealing in this game, you almost have to. You cannot deal with the emotion. Nothing can be done with emotion, because you make bad decisions when you're emotional, and that's in life. You have to think, and you do your research, and that takes away the emotion. It's just like these cats getting into this Dogecoin off of emotion, and they got their asses kicked off of emotion.
Yep. A lot of the people that were in the space took advantage of those people. You know, like we talked about, like they knew where, you know, they started selling out and it started diving, and they were already out. And then you see the people that bought in at 60, 70 cents, and they were probably like, wait, what's happening? And didn't really know. And then they hold on to it because it kind of stalled there for a little bit. So it's like, oh, maybe it'll go back up. And then it dives again, and that's where you get taken to the cleaners. But yeah, you know, it's funny you talk about just kind of a little stacking your bag. We talked about before the podcast, like, I didn't even know. We won't get into, obviously, and for anybody that knows, like, never, unless you're like really close with somebody and trust them and all that stuff, never like talk about how much you have.
Don't disclose anything.
Yeah. And so, like, but we talked about, like, just before the podcast, like, I just was looking at my investment and actually like counting them up, and I was like, oh, I've, like, my bag is grown enough that I'm getting this much extra. I didn't realize it. But I, you know, because you just don't pay attention to it. You're just kind of doing stuff, whatever. And it's kind of like, like you said, it's just that little bit that you're like, oh, okay. You know, you start getting that. It's not about the price or anything like that, because once you do your research, like we've talked about, it's about getting the tokens. It's about getting, like, increasing your bag.
Stacking the tokens. There's only 100 billion of them. Actually, 999 uh 99 billion of them, and it's a change because they keep burning them with every
Right.
exchange or every time it's used. But yeah, it's deflationary. So it's an accumulation game. You get as much as you can at a low price, because at some point it ain't gonna be a low price no more.
Yeah, and so that's, you know, that's where you sit there and you start thinking like, oh, I'm getting this much per day, and then you start thinking like we've talked on spec, like what's the price going to be at with this much per day? Like that's awesome, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? So that's where you start
Yeah.
sitting there thinking about like, sweet, with the compounding interest, and or, you know, moving them around and stacking your bags in these other tokens, off
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, essentially free money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting other tokens and getting gains off of your free money right now.
Yeah, like the Spark token. Like, I went through a spell, and we talked about this before we got on today. I went through a spell where I was just literally using the interest I was getting from XRP and buying XDC.
Right.
And I'm starting to do the same thing now, getting the Flare token. And we touched on the Flare tokens about how, you know, they're basically free tokens, or airdrop tokens, but they're going to bring residual income with the way that you convert them and do all that kind of stuff. And we're still learning. And listen, the chances of us doing like a video about how to break that stuff down are slim
So,
and
yeah.
none. It's not going to happen. You got
Mickey
to
Be
look
Fresh,
at Mickey
man.
Be Fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Mickey Be Fresh. I think Jungle Ink and Crystal Eddie do a pretty Crypto Eddie do a pretty good job also. But yeah, no way. We're going to be probably in front of our phones and the computer at the same time trying to figure out how to do that stuff, you know, in real time, probably in a group Zoom call or some shit.
Right.
But it's just a lot of opportunity right now, and that bell curve that we spoke about earlier, that we talked about earlier, is still kind of low. We are so early. As long as you're in before their money gets in, you're early.
Mm-hmm. and it's starting. That's the thing. You know, you touched on, like you brought up Gene Simmons and Soldier Boy. Like Gene Simmons mentioned XRP. Like it's starting to get to that
Mm-hmm.
mainstream where people are talking about it, and a lot of it, you know,
and you can't buy it in the United States.
Yeah, and so it becomes like that, like scarce token. But a lot of it goes to that Robinhood GameStop thing. Like people started kind of talking about crypto after that whole thing rolled around. But it like I said, that, you know, it's going on to like the free, but like you said, taking your interest from, that's where I was kind of getting at. Like my free money, essentially we're getting free money off the interest because we're just earning it every day. And then whether you want to roll that back into XRP to increase the interest that you're getting daily, or if you want to take that, like you said, go get XDC or Flare or whatever, you're getting, say you're getting 5 free tokens a day of XRP, you can roll that into XDC that's sub penny. So you're getting, you know, you got to think right now, currently, what, 38 cents XRP, you're getting 5 of those a day. What does that work out to?
No, like, it'll be like 400 or 500.
$2, almost $2 of XRP a day. So you roll that into XDC and get a few of those. You roll them into other tokens, whatever. But it's just free tokens. And
but the thing is, it'd be like 400 or 500 XRP. I mean XDC.
Yeah.
That 5x XRP, if hypothetically speaking, that 5 XRP would get you, based off of the pricing right now, about 400 or 500 XDC.
Right. Yeah.
You know? And it's interest. And then you can turn around and put the XDC or the XMA
back
in right in the penny.
Yep.
And that's what.
I mean, I have that's why we were talking earlier. Like all the tokens I buy, for the most part, I have some that I do have some Algorand, which doesn't have, at least the exchanges we use doesn't have any of the interest bearing accounts on it. But I kind of look at like, what can I essentially move into something where I could get my 5% or whatever they're offering. How can I get this residual income? I'm not trying to buy something that's not on there currently. So and obviously, like you said, getting into the Spark stuff and staking and all that kind of stuff, like we don't know enough about it, so we're not really into it currently. But obviously, there's other ways to get residual income.
Yeah,
but currently,
I mean, you are more than welcome to go, research that on your own. We're bringing you what we do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those, like, again, the passive income is huge, and you hear about that with people that have a shit ton of money now, Like people like Mark Cuban, like if you really think about it, like how much passive income does he make just because he invests in companies? Like and you could laugh, he's on Shark Tank or whatever, but it goes like he's involved. It's like Shaquille O'Neal's like I think perfect actually, if you really think about it, because he's got all these Five Guys, he's got all these different companies that he's involved in that he just makes money on. Like he's not sitting there and like making the daily decisions or doing anything like that. He just put money into it. I'm investing in it,
and let them do the work.
Yep. And
hey, what a novel idea that is.
Yeah, but he has the money. He had the initial money to be able to throw that in there. And this crypto space is one of those where you don't necessarily have to have that money, but at some point it's going to turn into that money.
But see, that's how they keep us out.
Right.
The only way that you can get into that game, like Shaquille O'Neal or Mark Cuban and all that kind of stuff, is you got to have the capital to do it. And for them, they're in that game, and it's easy. Once you have the capital, you can throw it in a little this, throw it in a little that, get your franchises going, or whatever the case may be, start your own business, whatever. But for us, if you're not an accredited investor, or you're not sitting on $50,000 to $100,000 to put your house up for a second, and then take out money out, and you're risking everything, it's way too much. You know what I'm saying? But this is our opportunity, because you don't have to be an accredited investor. Right. The big wigs haven't got in yet. They're still figuring out how they want to do things.
Yep, you're in charge of your own money.
They're trying to scare us out of this right now. They're trying to push us to the coins they want us to be in, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, like you touched on this earlier, we're at $1 trillion. Gold is only $8 trillion. And I say only because global debt is 250 trillion, but then Volante processes $6 trillion a day, and gold is 8 trillion total. And they're going to use XRP and RippleNet. Like you have to put two and two together, man. You have to start thinking about that, because you got to think, how many ounces of gold is there?
Yeah. To make the 2 trillion.
To make the 8 trillion. You got 8 trillion at a $2,000 price. Can you? So what is that number?
Shoot,
so would it be 2 trillion?
I got to turn my calculator.
2 trillion. So how do you? So it would be a division, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So there's
8 trillion divided by 2,000.
Oh yeah, 8. So 8
trillion.
4 billion ounces of gold, essentially, if that's what it works out to. But you got to think that's across the world, and I'm sure that $2,000 price is suppressed somewhat. Let's be real here.
Oh, it's hella, yeah.
So there's way less. I'm sure we could find out how many, as far as ounces of gold is held in the world. We could probably look that up for the next podcast. But real quick, you got anything else real quick before we get out of here?
Just be careful, man. It's going to get wild over the next couple months. Always keep to the fundamentals of investing. Okay, buy low, and if you're buying XRP, don't think about selling for a while, but buy low, sell high. Okay, those are when there's blood in the streets, when you're seeing red, that's the time to buy. When you're seeing a bunch of green, that's not a time to buy.
Well, real quick too, I'll just kind of say that, like, I had some money, we touched on too, I had some money on Coinbase, and I left it in USD because everything was so green. I wasn't going to throw something and then immediately lose money on it. So it's like, I was just kind of holding, waiting to see, kind of what the market was going to do and everything else, and waited. It was in there for like 2 days before I put it in. And so perfect, especially with everything that's been going on. Just be safe with your money, guys. Don't be stupid. Do your research.
Patience and consistency.
Yeah. And that's the thing. This space is still so young. Not a lot of money in it, so it's only going to go up. So it's about the long haul here. But yeah, that's about it for tonight.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you guys listening. Zalnaha signing out.